went to Morocco in 2015. I got done working on a boat for 6 months, and I flew over there. Same exact situation, like bought a plane ticket, had no idea what I was getting myself into. I love Muslim countries, so I was like, okay, I'm just going to go and see what happens. And had some really gnarly experiences there, like fell asleep on a bus and woke up in Algeria. It happens to the best of us, but it's just, you don't, it's the same thing. Like, you go over there and you just commit the same way that you jump out of an airplane with a parachute you packed yourself. You commit to it and you just go and like throw it all into the wind, because you're either going to come out of it a better person or it might kill you in a lot of these situations where you're like, whether it's illness or the people in Morocco or Algeria, where I was like, oh God, this is actually like kind of terrifying. But the to have those like actual profound life-changing experiences is, to me, that's like the greatest thing in the world, because you can't get that here.
No. Well, and I wanted to ask you, and you brought up about, enlisting after 9/11. I was going to jump back to that. Is having those experiences being deployed and then traveling to these places like Morocco and Nepal, how much did that either kind of change your view or that experience? And how long were you in the service?
So I did 6 years in the Navy, and I did 3.5, 4 years as a contractor.
And the Navy deployed, I assume, all over the world.
Yeah, and no, not really. I really wanted to go to like Afghanistan and Iraq, like where all my friends were going, and I ended up getting shoved into the war on drugs and spent all of my time in South and Central America hunting down cocaine. So it was like it's not like I didn't feel like I was part of like the bigger picture of like what was going on, and I had friends going overseas and getting killed and getting injured and being like what I joined the military for. And I went down and basically had like a really good time. It was, I mean, like, it sounds horrible, but it is. I mean, it was one of those things where I walked away from it. I was like, we're just making crime in the U.S. worse. We're just, hunting down stuff that's like never gonna stop. Because if I told you you have a 1 in 10 chance of making $2 billion this week, you'd probably gamble on all 10 every week, because it makes that much money. So it's I wasn't necessarily fulfilled from what I did in the military, but I did get to travel a lot as a 22-year-old kid to a lot of countries that I would have never gone to.
Right.
And the thing I took away from that was mainly just those personal interactions, because I'm like a massive introvert. I went through sniper school in the military. Like, that's my mindset. Like, I don't talk to people. I'm very much like the quiet person. To do it, to go down there and like interact with the locals and continue to improve with language, things like that. It's and like really be connected to those people and get to know people on a personal level. Like, that's something that's just, for a large part, was outside of my wheelhouse growing up. So to do it as a job benefited me greatly for traveling in the future.
Do you think those experiences, though, as the introvert, then are part of the reasons then traveling in the future, that you went and lived in Nepal kind of on your own, or in Morocco and those places?
Yeah, I mean, that's where I get my fix, is going and doing trips like that. And like, to me, it's entirely about the immersion. It's about letting go of, because like when you go to those places, and I love traveling to third world countries, because no one cares that you're from Southern California. That's like 2 seconds of a multi-hour conversation. No one's like, oh, you're from LA? Like, tell me all about LA. They don't care. They don't care about us. They don't care about what's going on here. They don't care about pop culture. Like, and to me, that's fascinating. They care about, having a roof over their head, having food in their belly every day, having relationships with people around them, the things that like actually matter in life. And that's what's amazing to me, is to go travel somewhere where it's like, oh, your priorities are actually realistic and aligned, instead of, sitting here caring about what kind of car you drive, what kind of clothes you wear, what kind of whatever. And it's that, to me,
Instagram followers you have, little things.
That's super important.
Yeah, of course.
I didn't get enough likes today, so I'm going to complain about it.
That makes sense. So from all those experiences, do you have one that sticks with you as, like we say, that travel with meaning moment that, when you think back, whether it's like a Morocco or Nepal, or, is there one person you met that like really stands out from all your journeys?
I don't feel like I've been to like that many places. I haven't like experienced, I very rarely, like I never go to touristy spots. I've never been to Bali. I've never been to, Western Europe. I've never done like a lot of places that most of my friends have been.
But to travel these places, you're doing it.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's always been like more about the time that you put in those places, like really get to know it and the people. Because like I'm not a tourist. No. I want to go and like be a local. That guy in Nepal, I mean, I still talk to him every now and then. That I lived with. Yeah, that's, to me, that's the kind of like, the guy lived in a 48 square foot apartment. He had like 2 hanger racks on his wall for like all of his clothes, and like a wood slat bed, and I lived on the floor. I slept on the floor every night. And no refrigeration, no running water, no electricity. Like, this place was a shithole. And it's probably gone from the earthquake that happened a few years ago. But, like, that's the person that probably, he spoke English, and he was very much just one of those people who's like, you've got it figured out. Like, you're happy. You're genuinely happy with nothing. And to me, that was the biggest takeaway. Like, I came back from Nepal looking at the world in a completely different light, because I grew up with, I got my master's degree, my parents had their master's degrees, my dad was successful with his own business. Like, I grew up in that kind of world, and to have come from that, where it's like, go to college, get a good job, like, do all that stuff, make money, have kids, buy a house, those are things that I want, but at the end of the day, it's also, the reality of the situation is, like, you need to be happy. Because, there's plenty of people who have all of those things that a lot of us want on a daily basis. And I think that traveling gives you that, like, reconnection to what's actually important versus what we tend to get told is important here. And that was the guy who was like, dude, you got a roof over your head.
Yeah.
Smile. So it
sounds like that dude was definitely a pretty deep conversation and experience on every level.
So many lentils.
Yeah. And so many lentils.
God, never again.
Well, you briefly just touched on it, but do you have a more of an expanded answer for what travel means to you?
It really is that connection and finding yourself, to me. It's not like, you don't need to go anywhere, really. It's more of like that state of mind of, it helps to go to a far-flung place to really, and like, be with those people. It's the connections that you make. It's it's that connection to the actual location you're in, like the natural environment, and learning something about yourself through that experience, because you don't get that from going to Club Med. You don't get that from going to Sandals. Like, it's a nice like week-long break, but until you're not really, in my mind, and like, vacations are great. Don't get me wrong. Like, I won't yuck anyone's yum. If you want to go on a vacation, like, go on a vacation. But if you go somewhere and you can actually learn something about yourself in the process, you can't do that here. Like, you can't, go drink all night at a bar in Venice and be like, oh man, like I really just kind of figured it all out tonight because I got hammered at Hinano. It's settle down, Cody. But you know, if you when you go somewhere and you kind of like tap into the local culture and you connect with that environment that's completely foreign to you, you can take something away from that you can't get from being here or wherever home is. And to me, that's the best part about traveling, is because it's, I brought it up earlier, but it's kind of like that New Year's resolution. Like, no one ever goes through with that stuff. Traveling gives you that. It gives you the ability to see the world and your life in a different way. And that, to me, is something that's invaluable. Like, that's worth all the money in the world to spend to go somewhere, to let it all go completely, and to walk away with it with a life lesson, walk away from it with a life lesson for yourself. Like, it doesn't have to be for anyone else. It's entirely for you.
It's travel is truly, I think it's going to make you richer, not necessarily financially, but more just personally in life and experience.